which is held today, the 27th of May, 2026, and it is held via Microsoft Team. And let me also welcome the NESA personnel and members of the public that have joined us from different platforms. On that note, can we take apologies, Ms. Jansen van Vieren?
Chairperson, yes, we have an apology from Ms. Maseti. She is on leave today.
Okay, thank you. On that note, may I ask you to take us through item 2 on health and safety and as well as the ethics moment, please. Over to you, ma'am.
Compliance requirement, but has become a culture of how the organization functions on a daily basis. Top management has taken both the responsibility and accountability to assure the health and safety of all stakeholders accessing nurses' premises. When working away from the office or from home, it is important to ensure that the working environment is safe and secure, and that the virtual private network or VPN is turned on, so nurses' systems are not compromised. When in the office, everyone must adhere to the health and safety guidelines and familiarize themselves with the marked NERSA evacuation routes. In the unforeseen event that may arise, you will be required to evacuate the building following the orders of the evacuation marshals. The evacuation procedure is as follows. When the alarm goes off, everyone must leave the building immediately. In the event of a fire, the following steps should be taken to ensure the safety of all building occupants. The appointed health and safety representatives, floor marshals, fire marshals and first aiders will be responsible for the orderly evacuation of their particular floors. Occupants of the building must follow the instructions of the health and safety representatives, floor marshals, fire marshals and first aiders, and must comply with all instructions given verbally through megaphones. Never ignore the instructions of the health and safety representatives, floor marshals, fire marshals and first aiders. Do not select your own escape route. This must only be done in the event that, for whatever reason, the emergency response team is unable to perform its functions. For example, hostage situations and major bomb explosions. If you are in your working area, take only personal belongings. Do not attempt to take more than you can carry. If you are not in your working area, do not go back to collect items. Stay calm, walk briskly, and do not run. Walk in single file and keep to the left-hand side. Assist injured persons or persons who stumble. Remember, in a chemical or biological incident, assistance is not advised unless you have protective clothing. Do not shout or make unnecessary noises. Do not interfere with persons performing emergency services. Proceed straight to the prescribed assembly point and report any missing persons to the authorities or health and safety representatives. Do not return to the building until authorized to do so by the emergency controller. Stay calm and do not panic.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Jansen van Vieren. I think in the interest of time, let's just take note of the ethics moment that is itemized as item 2.1. Which is on understanding and dealing with conflicts of interest. So I think all the staff members and the members do have it, and they will take a note of it. Thank you for the health and safety video. We will then move on to item 3, which is the proposed agenda. In terms of our agenda, we have one agenda item for the open session, which is under the electricity regulation. It is an item on the consideration of a municipal tariff application for the 2026-27 financial year. Members, by show of hand, can I get an indication that you do support the adoption of that particular item for our open session? By show of hand, please. Thank you, Mr. Mkiza. Thank you, Mr. Majola. We move on to item 4, the declaration of interest. Are there any verbal declarations that members would like to make? If not, members, may I request that we complete the forms that have been provided by the secretary for the committee. complete them and send them to her. And the same applies to NESA management and support staff. On that note, members, before we proceed to the item for our meeting today, maybe let me start first by allowing the members to introduce themselves, and then I'll go briefly to the background for our meeting for today. I'll start with myself. My name is Nomalanga Stola. I'm the chairperson of the REC and the CEO at NESA. I sit on other structures of the energy regulator. I'll then proceed to Mr. Mkhize. Over to you, sir.
Greetings, Chairperson. My name is Muzuvugile Mkhize. I'm the full-time regulator member primarily responsible for petroleum pipelines regulation and a member of this committee, amongst others. I would like to greet Mr. Majola, also here on the platform, management and staff of NERSA, as well as members of the public that are following us through the various live streaming platforms. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Mr. Majola.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Willie Majola, full-time regulator for electricity. I would like to greet all the members present, also the entire NESA team present, as well as members of the public. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Majola and Mr. Mkhize. On that note, let me start by saying that we are having this special REC meeting today. And this meeting is to consider the final outstanding tariff applications that we could not finalize on the 11th of May as directed by the court. We did bring an agent application to the High Court to grant us an order to finalize these 14 outstanding tariff applications, and the order was granted on the 26th of May, which was yesterday, with the deadline, or rather with the deadline of the 30th of May, and hence we had felt it was urgent for us to have this special meeting today. It is also important to indicate that the 14 outstanding tariff application, 7 of them were dealt with, but they had to be referred back for the team to enhance them in line with the guidance that the members had provided in the session that was held on the 11th of May, and 7 of them were the ones that the members have not at all considered. So we are going to be dealing with all 14 applications, but it is also important to highlight the fact that we have held a workshop this morning, and based on that workshop, there was guidance given to the team, and the team in their presentation will cover the points that the members have raised during the workshop. And one other critical point is to highlight the fact that we did communicate with the 14 licensees whose tariffs were still outstanding. We communicated that immediately after the 11th, and that was done in writing. And today we are sitting with the aim of finalizing all of them. That was just a brief background that I thought maybe I should share with everyone that is in attendance or those that are following up this particular meeting. On that note, I'll then have to hand over to Mr. Matebula, the EM for electricity regulation, to just give us a brief outline on the process followed in analyzing the applications before we allow the individual analysts to make their presentation. Over to you, Mr. Matebula.
Chair, good afternoon, and good afternoon to all the REC members, as well as my colleagues who are on the call. and those who are following us, Chair, on live stream. Chair, we are here today to consider the 14 outstanding municipal tariffs that we were before us as the regulator. Chair, I must indicate that 7 of those are here for reconsideration, as they were considered before by the regulator members, but there was a request that we should enhance on them before the members can actually approve. Chair, I must indicate that this is part of the 176 tariff application that we received as a regulator to consider tariffs for 26-27 financial year to be implemented as of the 1st of July 2026. Chair, I must indicate that during the process of consulting, the regulator received in excess of 2,000 comments from stakeholders. Chair, and I must indicate that around 687 were not specifically talking to any municipality, but there were general comments that related to the affordability of electricity. However, the rest, Chair, were linked to the 176 tariff applications that we had to handle in this year. And Chair, in our presentation of each of the tariffs, we had indicated the number of stakeholder comments that we received per municipality, and we had also indicated how we have dealt with that. So, Chair, even today, as the presenters will be talking to these individual municipalities, they will also touch on the stakeholder comments that were received and how they were actually addressed. Chair, but I must emphasize that these applications, Chair, are done in accordance with the approved framework, which is called the cost of supply. Chair, this methodology or this framework, it actually provides options for the applicant, which is the licensed distributors, 2 options to follow in making their application to the regulator. And those methodology that the licensee has, Chair, it's the cost plus methodology, as well as the rate of return methodology. Chair, the cost plus methodology, in its process, it considers the allowable revenue by determining by aggregating all prudently and efficiently incurred costs, which are associated with the licensed electricity distribution activity, together with an allowable surplus. This is in accordance with the framework. And the methodology includes, amongst others, the cost of electricity purchases from ESCOM, independent power producers, and own generation sources. It also covers the operating expenditure, the shared costs, as well as the support services costs. It covers depreciation and amortization of refurbishment and capital expenditure. It considers repairs and maintenance costs and allowable energy losses. Chair, these costs are assessed against the principle of prudency, efficiency, and cost reflectivity as prescribed in the Electricity Regulation Act, as well as the cost of supply framework, which is approved by the regulator. The second methodology, Chair, is the rate of return, which determines the revenue requirement based on the efficient operating expenditure of the licensee, together with a reasonable return on the regulatory asset base. The methodology takes into account operating expenditure, depreciation, working capital requirements, and the value of the regulated asset base, with the allowable return calculated using the weighted average cost of capital. This methodology is intended to ensure that licensees are able to recover efficiently incurred costs while earning a reasonable risk-adjusted return on assets utilized in providing regulated electricity services. In assessing electricity purchase costs submitted by a licensee, the regulator or NESA verifies the prudency and accuracy of the claimed cost through an evaluation of ESCOM bulk supply invoices, power purchase agreements where applicable, and other supporting procurement documents. The operating expenditure and shared costs are verified through the assessment of deforms, trial balances, and audited annual financial statement. And the regulatory financial information submitted by the licensee. This verification process is undertaken to ensure that only efficient and electricity-related costs are incurred in the tariff determination, or are included in the tariff determination process. And Chair, with the respect of the allowable surplus under the cost-plus methodology, the NERSA considers the financial sustainability of the electricity business, the prevailing economic condition, the customer affordability, and the need to maintain an efficient and reliable electricity distribution service in line with the cost of supply framework. And Chair, as the presenters will be presenting, they will be talking to this matter and indicating what proposed surplus, what is the proposed surplus for each applicant and the reasons thereof. So, Chair, I would recommend that we proceed to deal with the matters before us today. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Matebula, and I have noted that the members have adopted the agenda, and there is an addition of an application from Centelec. When we get to it, please do come in and brief the members before the presenter comes and present it. On that note, members, thank you. On that note, members, may I then request that we deal with the first application, which is from Gatelopele Municipality. It will be presented by Ms. Tanda. It is on pages 2 to pages 28. Members, there is a list indicating the batches and the pages. And this particular one, it's under batch 1, pages 2 to 28. I see Mr. Vinchi's hand is up. Do you want to come in, sir, before we start?
Yeah, no, thanks, Chairperson. And I note what Mr. Matebula has said. And I think it's important to emphasize also that we've really workshopped these applications, save for the last one, as you have mentioned. And the main issues that have come up still prevail in terms of the importance of highlighting the issues of consultation also by the municipality as well as NERSA. And there are issues where they pertain to cross subsidies, to talk of the fact that we will be looking at NERSA, the guidelines on cross subsidy framework to enable municipalities to ensure not just municipalities only, but as well as the licensing, the distribution licenses, the private ones, to then develop their own frameworks in this regard. Also, in terms of the giving more clarity on the clawback or give back, as also another part of another aspect that should be dealt with via framework. And then the emphasis also being that there's going to be further verification and auditing, as well as overall compliance monitoring and enforcement enhancement in the intervening period before lodgement of the next tariff applications. The issue of shared cost, highlighting what Mr. Matebula has also said, to say that the importance being able to deal with those costs that relate to the electricity distribution. With that also to ensure that when it comes to the assets, they relate to the assets for electricity distribution, which then affect the depreciation cost associated with that. That also, lastly, to say that we have the issue of energy losses, which most municipalities need really to address with more vigor. But there are also other costs that are involved, including also the challenges that pertain to revenue collection. where there should be improvements. I will leave it at that, Chairperson, that even in the comparison of the 12% and 6% energy losses, we applying the principle of ceteris paribus in terms of saying with all other matters equal, that these are the kind of improvements that should be there, and that in the RFDs they would demonstrate the elimination of inefficiencies, so that we strictly adhere to Section 15 of the ERA, which requires that the licensee be efficient. I'm saying these things upfront, Chairperson, so that one doesn't have to repeat them as we consider all these applications. And one's quietness doesn't necessarily mean that those issues are not of importance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkize, for reiterating that. I think the team has been guided on those points that you have made in previous applications, and that reiteration is very helpful. On that note, Mr. Matebula, I'm going to then start with the first application, which is from Kgatelopele Municipality, and it will be presented by Ms. Tanda. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Chairperson. Good afternoon, the members, colleagues, and public at large. Kgatelopele Municipality is situated in the Northern Cape. It's applying for 10%. The consultation, the municipality confirmed that they have consulted with their public. They did the consultation and they submitted the evidence of the attended register. Upon scrutinizing the attended register, no comment were received, and municipality stated that it was approved by the council, and they submitted the evidence. As well as NERSA have published the COS study and the report and the tariff application on the NERSA website. The financial performance of the municipality is not satisfactory, as evident to the surplus that moved from a surplus of 0.99 and to decrease to a deficit of 17.15%. This was due to their ESCOM debt of 3.5 million, and the energy loss is reducing, but not at a acceptable level. If we check the analysis for the energy loss, if the energy loss was kept at 12%, the deficit was going to change from the 17.15% to a surplus of 23.2%, and the foregone revenue will be 8.3 million. With the energy loss kept at 6%, again it changed from the deficit of 17.15 to a surplus of 26.88%, with a foregone revenue of 10.7 million. The municipality must continue to implement the plan that submitted to NERSA to reduce the energy loss, and also pay its ESCOM account and to be up to date. And NERSA will monitor the submitted energy loss. The municipality submitted the revised cost of supply study, reason being the change in their tariff structure to the seasonal tariff, the low and high season, and also the ESCOM municipality tariff structure change as per ERTA. Municipality opted for the cost plus methodology, taking into account the OPEX and the CAPEX, which are related to in terms of the depreciation. The municipality assess value of 127 million recorded in the submitted asset register. We verified the asset register against the submitted deform and the trial balance related to the electricity business of the municipality. Municipality used the straight line method to calculate their electricity infrastructure depreciation. The depreciation amounted to 2.7 million in the 2024-25 financial year, verified against submitted deform, trial balance, and the audited financial statement. The 2025-26 depreciation, the budget is 3.5 million, and in the 2026-27 is the projected to be 3.8 million. The bulk purchase applied for is 400 by the municipality is 44 million, representing the 69%. The bulk purchase figure was verified against the ESCOM bulk invoices for 2025-26 financial year, and again the trial balance and audited financial statement. The operational expenditure applied for is 12 million. Following the prudent and the efficient assessment, the inefficient cost was disallowed of 1.3 million related to ESCOM debts. The recommended operating expenditure was reduced, and for 2026-27, it's amounting to 2.7 million. The surplus revenue requirement include a 2% surplus of 1.2 million, calculating using a surplus factor of 2%. That exclude the inefficient costs such as ESCOM debt, kept the energy loss to 12% as the cost of supply framework, and the surplus downward was reduced by 132,000, and the recommended surplus of 101 million as per the table 5 of the operational expenditure breakdown in the RFD. The municipality, to ensure that the profit are not overstated, aligned to risk and compliant with electricity policy, pricing position 1, and the cost of supply framework verification was undertaken. Although the return proposed by the municipal fall below the established targeted range of 10 to 20%, it is considered reasonable. We, in taking the surplus profit margin, we have taken into account the risk, which is the ESCOM interest, which was disallowed, and then the bad debt was allowed since the bad debt was within or below the 5%. The share cost, all share costs were ring-fenced and strictly allocated to the electricity distribution function using the deform and the cost of allocation, and consistent with the cost of supply requirement verified against the trial balance and the audited the financial statement. The cross subsidy, as advised by the members, when we submit the tariff approval letter, we will request the municipality to implement or develop the cross subsidy that will be fair and transparent to their customers. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tanda. Do you want to read the recommendations into the records? They are on P3 to 4.
The tariff that are based on the cost of study are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effect from 1st of July 2026. The cost of supply study submitted by the municipality is noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that has been noted in its cost of study, enable the regulator to perform its independent verification by the 31st of January 2027. The municipality is required to submit a quarterly smart efficiency plan with measurable identified in reducing high energy loss by the 30th of September. I thank you.
Thank you. Just a minor correction on that last one. It should be unidentified losses. Members, on that note, any questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements in relation to this particular application? If you have any, please do raise your hand so that you can make your input. Yes, Mr. Mkize.
Thanks, Chairperson, and thanks, Madam Tanda. I take it that the issues raised previously in the workshop have been taken care of, that I appreciate. But I think just when you're looking at the improvements in terms of the percentage energy losses, please, because we've got table 3A and 3B, right? Please just look at that, treat it with some caution, because you have under 3A, the energy losses improving from 32.04% to 28.11%. And at the same time, you've got the challenge of the percentage surplus reducing from being a surplus to a deficit, a surplus of 0.99% to 17.15%, which means that that sensitivity analysis really should be looked at also with caution, in the sense that the improvement in the energy losses do not necessarily mean they translate into something, into these profits, unless other levers are being pulled by this municipality, which is something that you need to stress. And then the other issue is on the, we have agreed, and let me mention it here, because the first one, that you still need to indicate the issues of repairs and maintenance separated, simply because of them being important in relating to the asset values. And I take it that the figures that you have indicated on table 5, when it comes to the shared OPEX, you've done the verification on them, but please also in the auditing and further verification, zoom into them again, just to ensure that really what we have is only that which relates to electricity distribution. I'm covered, Chairperson, otherwise.
Thank you, Mr. Mkize. I think from my side, just a point of enhancement is on table 5. I do note that you have contractor services and payments to consultants. And I note that under payment of consultants, there is nothing there. So just please do an asterisk to just explain the difference between those two, because I would assume that payment of consultants would be under contracted services as well. On that note, we are covered. I don't see any hand from the members. Do you want to come in, Ms. Tanda, and respond?
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, I've taken into account the comment of the members, the deficit, but due to time constraint after the workshop, I couldn't submit the enhanced RFD because I have to send it to the HOD to check it first. And then the issue of the share of PECs, I will take into account. And then the contracted services and the consultant. More of the contracted services is when those consultant or the companies that are mainly doing the maintenance side. And then the consultant, payment to consultant is mainly for operational, maybe is a contract for cleaning or contract for security, which is not related to maintenance. Thank you.
Members, any other point that you may have? Are you covered, Mr. Mkize? On that note, members,
Covered.
thank you, sir. The recommendations have been read into the record. They are on page 3 to 4. May I, by show of hand, with those enhancements that members have highlighted, get an indication that you support the approval of this particular application? Thank you, Mr. Mkize. Thank you, Mr. Majola. I also support. We then move on to the next application, which is from Maluti Pofung Municipality, Ms. Masike. And the application members is on page 29 to page 60. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson. I hope I'm audible this time around.
Yes, you are very clear.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Maluti Apofong is based in the Free State Province. They did submit their application on the 31st of March, and NERSA published it on its website for consultation. And we did not receive any comments from the affected parties. The municipality also indicated that they did consult on their side and did not receive any feedback from the affected parties. Chairperson, this municipality owes Eskom about 9.8 billion. There is a distribution agency agreement between Maluti Apofung and Eskom. In that agreement, the terms are that Eskom, as soon as Maluti Apofung collects from its customers, they transfer the funds to Eskom. But during the workshop earlier, Mr. Mkize asked what the collection rate was for Maluti. We did contact the municipality. They have indicated that their collection rate is 70%, and the other funds are collected directly by Eskom from big customers. Also, if I go back to the presentation, it has been indicated that the municipality is using the cost plus methodology. We did have access to the asset register, which we analyzed. And in terms of the projections given in the application, the municipality applied for the depreciation of 7.48 million, and compared to the previous year of 7.19 million. The regulator verified the depreciation amounts against the municipality's electricity asset register, supporting the cost of supply information found in the methodology applied. When we look into the financial and technical performance of the municipality is not doing well. This is evidenced by the municipality operating at a deficit of 35% in 23-24, and it further deteriorated to 85% in the 24-25 financial year. In terms of the energy losses, the municipality reported energy losses of 39.5% in 23-24 and 36.99% in 24-25. We did run a sensitivity analysis where we looked at the foregone revenues based on the high losses. If the losses were kept at 12% in line with the allowed. The deficit margin could improve from 85 to 34%. And if a further reduction is performed to 6% of energy losses, the deficit would improve to about 25%. In terms of the total allowable revenue, Chairperson, the municipality applied for a revenue requirement of 1,398 million for 26-27. NESA reduced the allowable revenues to 54 million, resulting in the approved allowable revenue of 343 million, which is in line with the recommended increase of 9.01%. NESA also assessed the operating expenditure. The municipality applied for operating expenditure amounting to 143 million. And following the assessment of prudency and efficiency, NESA reduced the allowance, the allowable operating expenditure to 91 million, removing 52 million, which was related to the ESCOM debt interest cost. In terms of the surplus margin, the municipality applied for 68 million as part of the total revenue. And after assessment, NESA approved the reduced surplus of about 65 million. Chairperson, in terms of the shared operating expenditure, the municipality applied for an amount of 4.77 million for 26-27, which was compared to 3.14 million for 25-26. NERSA verified the allocation of shared costs, and we have approved it because it includes costs such as bad debt provision, inventory and materials management, street lighting charges, administration and support services, other direct operational support functions attributable to the electricity business. Chairperson, we are asking the energy regulator to approve an increase of 9.01%, and the recommendations for Maluti read as follows. The tariffs that are based on the cost of supply are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis sheet for implementation on the 1st of July 2026. The municipality is required to submit the report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in its COS to enable the regulator to perform the independent verification for each process by 31st of January 2027. The municipality is required to submit quarterly progress reports on efficiency improvement measures taken to reduce high energy losses and deficit for the regulator to monitor implementation thereof by starting on the 30th of September. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Masike. Members, any questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements on this particular application? You can mute yourself, Ms. Masike.
Thank you. Straight.
Mr. Mkiza, you may come in.
Thanks. I don't want to repeat the same thing that applies. I think on both the issues that you raised, Chairperson, that I raised regarding the surplus not moving in the same direction as the losses being reduced. Also, please also treat this issue of street lights. It's in table 5, that is on page
Page 36, Chair, table 3.
Yes, table 5. You know, treat this thing of street lights with caution. Really, sometimes you find that there are these street lights. You find that they are lit during the day. At night, no assistance whatsoever to municipalities. And you find that the roads most of the time they're dark, but you still have these charges. So also look at that. And also when it comes to the materials and supplies, and as well as salaries and allowances vis-a-vis contracted services, that asterisk to be able to to outline what that means. And again, the issues of the RAP or the asset base for electricity distribution is something to be verified in between. So thanks also for incorporating the issues raised during the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkize. Any other hand? I don't see any hand. I think for me, I know it is not within our regulatory mandate, but I think we need to encourage the municipality to ensure that they increase the registration of the indigent customers, because they have about 83 customers, and of that 83, only 25,000, let me round it off to 26, that are registered and benefiting from the FBE. So let's encourage the municipality to really reach out to the indigent members of our community to ensure that they get registered and they get the benefit of the FBE. Members, on that note, the recommendations have been read into the record. They are on P30 to 31. May I, by show of hand, get an indication that you support the recommendation? Thank you, Mr. Mkize. Thank you, Mr. Majola, and I do support. We move on to the next application. It is yours again, Ms. Masike. It's an application from Sol Plaatjes Municipality. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson. Sol Plaatjes is located in the Northern Cape. The municipality has applied for an overall increase of 8%. The application is based on the cost plus methodology, wherein the municipality has submitted the asset register equivalent of 1 billion, but the assets that are related to the production and supply of electricity equals to 288 million, and the depreciation thereof is 3.69. In terms of the financial and technical performance, the municipality is not doing very well. It is operating at a deficit, which is deteriorating from 3.63 in 23-24 to 13.39 in 24-25. In terms of the energy losses, the municipality is also not doing well there. The losses have increased from 25.43 to 26.85, but we did do a sensitivity analysis where we are showing the impact if the losses were controlled by the municipality. In terms of the operational expenditure, the municipality projected an increase of 282 million. NESA identified that there is increasing costs that are related to employee costs, materials and supply, contracted services. But because the application, when we received it, all those costs that were deemed to be inefficient, the municipality has removed them from the application, hence a lower application of 8%. In terms of the projected surplus, if we were supposed to adjust from our side, the 137 million was to be adjusted to 126 million. And in terms of the public participation, the municipality conducted public participation. Where they submitted one stakeholder report, which is on page. We did analyze the stakeholder comments. NERSA received one and the municipality received one. The analysis of the stakeholder comments are on page, just scrolling down there. We are on page. But I can also talk to the stakeholder who has reported Sol Plaatje to the public protector. The issues that were raised there was that the capacity charge that the Sol Plaatje is implementing is illegal, and also Sol Plaatje did not consult with its customers when it introduced the capacity charge. We did communicate with the municipality. There is proof of consultation. And in terms of the capacity charge, we have NERSA received the application on the introduction of capacity charge in 23-24. It was analyzed and approved. Chairperson, yes, I found the stakeholder comments are on paragraph 7 on page.
It's 81 to 86.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. The one comment that was received from Sol Plaatje was from Mrs. G. Bezaidon-Hodge, and the comment that NERSA received is from Mr. Kaulela, which talks to the same issues that I've raised. His comments are more or less the same as the comments that are raised with the public protector, and we have analyzed them as such. In terms of the tariff application, the municipality is applying for 8%, which is, we did not adjust the 8% because the increase to the bulk purchase is actually 9.01%. As I've indicated, the municipality already from its side removed inefficiencies. So we are recommending the increase of 8% as requested by the municipality. The recommendations are on page recommendations are on page sorry, apologies. They are on page 63, and they read as follows. The application that is based on the cost of supply study is approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by 1st of July. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in the COS study to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification by 31st of January. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Masike. Members, comments, points of enhancement, issues of clarity. If you have any, please do come in. I don't see any hand from the members, but Ms. Masike, in terms of the recommendations, may I request that you add the one that requests the municipality to submit a report on a quarterly basis starting in September on the losses that have been identified in the application. It is not there, it needs to be added. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Mkhize?
Yes, Madam Masike, maybe it's just an omission. Same matter raised with regard to other creditors' interest. That adjustment, the under NERSA adjustment on the table on page 79 of 189, please, you need to put it in brackets or negative there. And I note these contracted services that how they just shot up in 2025-26, and then going from 100, almost 101,000 to 14 million, and then projected to go to 10 million. You know, with such increases, you know, but I also note the reduction of salaries, wages, and allowances. just to be able to talk to these also and not leave them out in terms of how they affect them being able to operate efficiently. Please also zoom into that, as well as the emphasis of the assets being mainly for electricity distribution and not find ourselves having other things lumped onto it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mkhize. I don't see any other hand from the members. On that note, members, can I get an indication that you do support the recommendations with the enhancement made by the members? And the recommendations are on P62 to 63 and they've been read into the records. And thank you, Mr. Mkhize and Mr. Majola are also support. We move on to the next application. It is yours again, Ms. Masike. It's from Tembelihle Municipality. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Tembelihle is based in the Northern Cape province. They also use a cost-based cost plus methodology instead of rate of return. We did assess their asset register against the information that has been provided, and it was deemed acceptable. The way the depreciation was calculated using a straight line, it was deemed acceptable. In terms of the financial and technical performance, the electricity business is continuing to operate at a deficit position. Although there is an improvement from 68 to 29, the deficit is still considered high. In terms of the energy losses, they have reduced from 23.5 to 20.6. But it is still substantially higher than 12%. We have done the sensitivity analysis whereby we are showing if the energy losses are within the control of the municipality. If they were to improve them to 12% and 6%, the deficit position would actually change. In terms of the bulk purchases, we are saying that the projected amount of 19.14 million in 24-25 has been increased to 23 million in 26-27. Although the municipality has projected an improvement in losses, the bulk of the costs that are involved in bulk purchases relate to energy losses, which the municipality is not managing properly. In terms of the projected surplus, the municipality submitted an application for 259 million compared to the expenditure, which was about 28 million. So the regulator indicated that the surplus presented is approximately 90% of the total allowable revenue, which is not acceptable. The operational expenditure, including depreciation, was projected to increase moderately by to 5.73 million. And in terms of consultation, sorry, I'm not sure what that is. NESA consulted on the application received from Tembelihle, and there were no submissions received from affected parties. And the municipality also indicated that they have consulted and did not receive any comments from the affected parties. Chairperson, I would like to move to the recommendations, which are on page
Page
Sorry.
99 to 100.
99 to 100. Thank you, Chairperson. And they read as follows. It's freezing left. Apologies, Chairperson. The recommendations read as follows. The tariffs that are based on the cost of supply study be approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by 1 July 2026. The municipality is required to submit a report on that is accounting for all the costs that have been noted in the COS to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification by 31st of January 2027. Maybe I will also add that recommendation on the energy losses as previously directed. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Masiko. Members, any questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancement? Just briefly mute yourself, Ms. Masiko. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mkiza, you may come in.
Thanks. I think Madam Masiko started off well by also reflecting on the revenue correction rate. I think it's important that we keep that in sight and that there also are efforts to improve on that. Please do note that, and I think it applies to the rest of the presenters. And then on this table 3, the municipality revenue requirement, I don't know what this hindsight is. We can just remove that as I think it's an overflow from someone. If you can please also put the emphasis around the determination of that depreciation and put the percentages, just so that one can see how each of these line items relates, whether it's the income or losses or expenses, just to indicate those percentages. I think it's going to be helpful. I take it that from your side, you have taken on board all the comments of the workshop, and that you are still going to further enhance in line with what I've just said, as well as what has emanated in the past presenters' inputs. I will leave it at that. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Mkize, for that input. And I think from my side, the point of enhancements that we raised in the workshop relates to public participation. 5.1 on page 118. I think it needs to be improved. We cannot just leave that particular sentence or that paragraph hanging as it is to just say we published on the website. And verbally, you have indicated whether we did receive comments or not. If you can just add that to that particular paragraph for purposes of having it complete, to say we advertised, we didn't get any comments. I don't see any other hand from the members. On that note, the members, the recommendations have been read into the record with the enhancements of the last one that deals with the quarterly reports on the losses identified in the applications. Application rather, can I, by show of hand, get an indication that the members support the recommendations as read out together with the enhancements that have been provided? Thank you, Mr. Majola. Mr. Mkiza, I do support. We move on to the next application. I think it is yours again, Ms. Masike. It is an application from Tukuluho Municipality. It is on pages 125 to 146 members. Over to you, Ms. Masike.
Thank you, Chairperson. Tukuluho is based in the Free State. We did analysis of the costs, and according to that analysis, the municipality requires a 75% increase before the inefficiencies are affected. But we did take into account all the inefficiencies, and we are recommending an increase of 9.11%. The municipality is using a cost plus methodology. We had a look at their asset register and depreciation. The municipality applied for the current year depreciation amounting to 21 million for the 26-27 financial year. The depreciation was calculated using the straight line method. NERSA verified the depreciation amounts against the municipality's electricity asset register as required by the COS. In terms of the financial and technical performance, the municipality operates, it continues to operate at the deficit. The deforms reflect that there is a deficit margin of 97% in 24-25 compared to 46.48 in 23-24. In terms of the energy losses, these have increased from 18.06% to 25.42%. Analysis conducted by NERSA indicates that if the municipality was to reduce the losses to 12%, the revenue would increase by 5.47 million. If the municipality was to reduce it to 6%, they would actually increase by approximately 7.91 million. The municipality applied for a total allowable revenue of 114 million. Following the prudency assessments that we conducted, we adjusted the allowable revenue by removing inefficient costs such as interest on the ESCOM account, which amounts to about 40 million. It was removed. And then in terms of the operational expenditure, the municipality applied for 71 million, and we adjusted this. It still relates to the ESCOM interest. And in terms of shared operating expenditure, the municipality applied for 42 million. After excluding the ESCOM related interest costs, of 40 million, the allowable shared costs is 2.17 million. The municipality applied for a surplus of 3.39 million. NERSA reduced it to 500,000 after taking out all the inefficiencies. The 500,000 represents 1% of the total costs. And then in terms of the tariff application, Tukuluga applied for 30%, and we limited it to 9.11 after reducing or removing the inefficiencies. Thank you, Chairperson. I need to go to I would like to read the recommendations. The first one is that the tariffs that are based on the cost drivers are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis sheet section for implementation by the 1st of July. The cost drivers that are submitted by the municipalities be noted. The municipality must submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in its COS by 31st January 2027. The municipality must submit the quarterly progress reports on the efficiency improvement measures taken to reduce the high energy losses by 30 September. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Musike. Members, any questions, issues of clarity, or points of enhancements on this particular application? If you have any, please do come in. Thank you, Mr. Mkhize.
Yeah, Chairperson, Maybe also the guys at licensing, compliance, and dispute resolution. Maybe we need to really zoom into such municipalities. If you've got a deficit of 97.77, so we've got a 98% deficit, you really a going concern as a municipality, even if we are just only looking at the electricity side, because that, in my understanding, was supposed to be the space where there is a revenue generation, even amongst the high revenue generation divisions or functions in a municipality. If you've got this, you really have a going concern if one were to translate it into corporate as a company. What is being done around this, other than just this consideration of tariffs? If I may just be assisted there. Thank you.
You, Mr. Mkize. I don't know, Ms. Masika, whether you want to come in or the EM will come in on the point raised by Mr. Mkize with regard to issues of compliance monitoring. Mr.
Yeah,
Matibu?
Chair, I think the compliance monitoring, it's a project that we embark on an annual basis. However, I think we have indicated to that the quantum or the quantity that we are able to deal with on an annual basis, we have realized that it's not enough to be able to cover enough of our licensees, more especially given the current challenges. However, Chair, I must indicate that it is submissions like this that becomes a trigger on which monies do we actually have to be focusing on in our next phase of audits. And you may have realized that we have already taken some municipalities through a tribunal process as required by the law to address this type. So these type of municipalities also become in our radar based on the information that is at our disposal at this moment. So that is the process that we are going to follow as well for this particular municipality. Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Mkize, are you covered on that?
Yeah, I'm covered. I think it's part of the emphasis of the work done in the intervening period. But really, we need to act swiftly regarding such municipalities. Let me just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkize. Maybe Mr. Matibula, the point of emphasis made is on the seriousness of compliance and monitoring of licensed municipal distributors, to an extent that maybe we may have to look into the plan that have been submitted to just enhance it to cover some of the issues relating to tariffs in an in-depth manner. That is just a suggestion from the committee to say that that particular area needs to be also looked into and not, or rather it is being looked at, but we need to really strengthen it from now onwards. We note your response that we have picked up some that have been referred to the tribunal. That is appreciated. Let's continue to do that. On that note, members, the recommendations have been read into the record. They are on pages 126 to 127. And with the enhancements made, I get an indication from the members that they do approve the recommendations as read out. Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Mr. Majola, I also support. We then move on to the next application, which is from Gauteng Municipality. Ms. Tanda, this is one of the application, or rather the first of the application that was considered on the 11th, but it had to be referred back due to some critical issues that the members requested that the analyst addressed. Ms. Tanda, over to you. In your presentation, please do cover the points that you were requested to look into. Over to you, ma'am.
Sorry, Chairperson. Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon, members and colleagues. Gauteng is based in the Northern Cape. It's applying for 10.1%. The NERSA published both cost of supply study and the tariff application, and no comments were received. Municipality on their side undertook public consultation and no objection or comment received, and the tariff application was approved by the municipality council. All the supporting documents of the meeting that was held by the council were submitted to NERSA. The financial performance of the municipality is not satisfactory, as evident to the 37.61 deficit in the 2024-25 financial year, which increased to 73.89%. If the losses were kept at 12%, the deficit will decrease from 73.89 to 22.68, with the foregone revenue of the 9.2. If the losses are kept at 6%, again the deficit will be 16.94%, and the revenue foregone will be 10.7 million. The deficit is due to the non-interdepartmental billing, mainly for water pump, and again for the Eskom interest, and then again the high energy loss that have increased. However, the municipality will still operate at a deficit of 5.78 if the Eskom account was up to date and the energy losses were kept at 12%. Municipality submitted the energy losses report and stated that they have appointed a contracted services company to assist them with the energy loss reduction and the revenue enhancement, and they only appointed the consultant in September 2025. They were still busy doing the feasibility study, which may be in the long term, only in the long term that we will see the reduction of the energy loss. The municipality submitted the revised cost of supply study, reason being the change in the Eskom tariff structure for municipality as per ERSA. They opted for the cost plus methodology, taken into account the OPEX and the CAPEX, which related to in terms of depreciation. The municipality asset value of 160 million, as recorded in their 2024-25 asset register, verified against the submitted DFOM and the electricity trial balance, and the audited annual financial statement do not record the breakdown of the electricity asset. Hence, the verification was made using the asset register and the trial balance. Municipality used the straight line base in calculating their infrastructure depreciation, including electricity. The operational expenditure applied for by the municipalities 13.9 million, including depreciation. They recorded in the submitted asset register verified against submitted deform and the trial balance related to electricity business. The municipality, as stated, used their straight line method to calculate the infrastructure depreciation. The actual depreciation for 2024-25 financial year, which was verified again with the trial balance and audited financial statement, it's amounting to 2.7 million. And then the budget for 2025-26, it's amounting to 3.5 million. And the projected for 26-27 financial year is 3.8 million. The bulk purchase is 23 million, representing the 56%, and the bulk purchase figure was verified against ESCOM bulk purchase invoices for 2024-25 financial year, and is verified against submitted deform, electricity department, trial balance, and the audited financial statement. The operational expenditure, municipality applied, as mentioned before, for 13.8 million for the projected 2026-27 financial year. Following the prudent and the efficient assessment, ESCOM interest was identified as the inefficient. However, the municipality did not take into account in calculating its 2024-25 budget and when calculating the projection for 2026-27. The share cost comprised of 5.1 million, which is mainly the charges from other municipality department and the general expense related to fuel and oil and protected clothing and other expense such as traveling and substance. All these share costs were ring-fenced and strictly related to electricity distribution function using the deform allocation and consistent with the cost of supply requirement verified against the trial balance and the audited annual financial statement. In calculating the surplus, in recommending a surplus, NERSA relied on the Section 15.1 of Electricity Regulation Act. The return proposed by municipality, the established target range of 10 to 20%. Magareng has requested a surplus of 1.4 million, calculating using a surplus factor of 3% applied to operating expenditure. The risk consideration incorporated in the qualitative revenue collection rate of 72%, and then the financial impact of the excessive energy loss. With the cross-subsidization, according to the cost of supply studies submitted by the municipality, the result shows that commercial and industrial customers are subsidizing the domestic customers. However, the municipality will be advised to develop a cross-subsidization framework that is fair and transparent. I will therefore read the recommendation from page 148 to 149 and taking into account the enhancement that was raised by the CEO from my previous presentation. The tariffs that are based on the COS study are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effect from 1st of July 2026. The cost of supply study submitted by the municipality is noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that has been noted in its cost of supply study, enable the regulator to perform its independent verification by 31st of January 2027. The municipality is required to submit a quarterly smart efficient plan with measurable, identifying all losses and including high energy loss by 30 September 2026. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tanda. Members, questions, issues of clarity that you have on this particular application, please do come in if you have any of those. I don't see any hand, and I do note that you have covered some of the points, or rather the points that were raised in the workshop, and as well as those that were raised when the matter was referred back, and that is appreciated. Members, the recommendations have been read into the record with the enhancements that needs to be made on this particular application as raised in the previous ones. May I, by show of hand, get an indication that you support them? They are on pages 148 to 149. Thank you, Mr. Majola and Mr. Mkize are also support. We move on to the next one, and it's yours as well, Ms. Tanda. It is from Zwelipuli Municipality, and it is a resubmission. Members, it's on pages 169 to 189. Please do mind the timer. I think the thing that goes and blips, it's the timer. So yeah, over to you, ma'am. You may proceed. Thank you.
Tswelopele municipality is situated in the Free State. The municipality is applying for a 12%, and the financial, the consultation, NERSA did publish the cost of supply, both the study and the report and the tariff application, and no comment received. The municipality on their side undertook the public consultation and no objection or comment received, and the tariff application was approved by the council. The municipality financial performance is satisfactory, as shown, even though it's not a huge surplus, but it's an improvement that the surplus, the deficit of 2023-24 of 24.2% was improved to a surplus of 4.5%, and the energy loss was also improved from a double digit of 11% to a single digit of 8.6. However, we will still monitor the improvement and make sure that the municipality substantiate their performance. However, there is a financial impact of the losses, which is the municipality. If we kept, I just did the energy loss analysis, and I only did the 6%, that if the municipality loss were kept at 6%, and the municipality was going to increase their surplus to 19%. The municipality is using the cost adjustment, as they have submitted their cost of supply before, and they have just put the cost of adjustment. The expenditure that the municipality is applying for is 16.9 million, and the municipality decreased from 16.4 to a budget of 13%, reflecting a 9% increase in costs, taking into account inefficiencies such as ESCOM interest due to late payment of account. The asset of the municipality is 137 million, and the budget for 24-25 is 2 million in the financial year, and then the further budgeted for 25-26 is 2.1 million, and then increasing to 2.2 million for 2026 projection. The approach on the municipality on their operation expenditure is considered reasonable. The surplus, the municipality applied for the surplus of 7.8 million, calculated using the factor of 9% of the operating expenditure. This figure excludes inefficiency and non-allowable costs, including the interest on ESCOM-related debt, as the municipality is currently in areas of its bulk by 9.9 million. The surplus margin of 9% was benchmarked against the established target range of 10 to 20% as prescribed by the NESTA cost of supply framework and the EPP policy position 1. The deform submission and the trial balance to ensure that the return remains commensurable and the level of risk associated with the electricity business. The risk considered was the collection risk and a non-payment and indigent and the bad debts. The municipality has budgeted 1.2 million for the bad debt in the financial year. When calculating this bad debt, we could it's less than the 5%. And in recommending the surplus, the NERSA relied on the Section 15 of the electricity, which provided a tariff. The share cost, the municipality doesn't have a lot of share cost, but the share cost that we were looking at, we have disallowed the FB paid to ESCOM, as we could see that is a share cost that is not inefficient. The other share cost, as mentioned before, the bad debt and the general expense, which were the fuel, protecting clothing, and other expense were allowed. I therefore recommend that the tariffs that are based on the cost of supply study are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effect from 1st of July 2026. The cost of supply study submitted by the municipality is noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that has been noted in its cost of supply, enable the regulator to perform its independent verification by the 31st of January 2027. The municipality is required to submit a quarterly smart efficient plan with all identified losses measurable in reducing the high loss by the 30th of September. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Thunder. Members, questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancement? Thank you. Mr. Mkhize, you may come in.
Thanks, Madam Thunder. I note the inclusion of the enhancements, but on table 4, you've got the non-technical losses 0, and then technical losses being the 2.249 million. I was looking at these losses, you've got it at 7.81%. And I'm just asking myself that the non-technical one, there was no space to accommodate to amount to a 12%, if any. Is it true that there's just 0 losses there that are non-technical? I'm not getting that clarity. And when it comes to the adjustment on the ESCOM debt interest, you've got a zero there. Maybe if you can also put a zero in terms of the budgeted one and not just leave empty spaces. Because you've got 24, 25, 25, 26, and 26, 27. There's just empty there. Yeah, but just also go relook this in terms of the numbers. That's all from my side, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Mkize. I don't see any hand. Ms. Tanda?
Thank you, Chairperson. The cost of adjustment, it was provided by the municipality. According to municipality, their major problem is more of a technical loss due to the infrastructure aging, which they are busy with the replacement of the aging infrastructure. That was their reasoning why they don't have technical losses. And then secondly, the energy loss, the 9.1, it's an actual energy loss, interest, not energy loss. The interest of 9.1 is what they incur for their ESCOM debt. However, when they calculate the budget for 25-26 and the projection, they didn't take that into account, since they are aware that it is inefficient cost and it's within their control that they must pay the ESCOM debt, not they must pay their ESCOM debt, not to take it to their customers.
Thank you,
Chairperson, in the interest of time, I know that. That's why I was saying, just have indicating that it's zero there instead of leaving it empty, and then indicate in the narrative. And again, look at this whole thing of the non-technical losses versus technical losses, how they get misrepresented, how they get represented, because we should be realistic in terms of what we put in there. As I note that we've said that we've got that threshold of 12%, they are sitting at 7.81%. I'm not necessarily against that, since it is more efficient, but the non-technical losses sitting at zero, and then the technical losses sitting at 2.249 million. Because if they are going to improve the infrastructure, this also should then find expression. It impacts in terms of the capex spend that one would be looking into, as well as some of the repairs and maintenance going forward, which when one is looking at these municipalities, it should go beyond just this current financial year that we're looking at. And again, in the intervening period, look at periods that are beyond just 1 year, because these interventions, they don't necessarily fall within one calendar year. And also, whatever fruit of those investments, they cannot also at all times be reaped within a calendar year, a financial year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkize, for those enhancements. Ms. Tanda, I take it these are enhancements in terms of the submission that is before us, and I trust that they are clear and you have noted them and reflected them in the final RFDs. On that note, members, the recommendations have been read into the record. They are on pages 170 to 171. May I, by show of hand, get an indication that you support them with the enhancements made? Thank you, Mr. Mkize. I do support. I don't see Mr. Mkize. Mr. Majola? Thank you, Mr. Majola. Members, we are now going to move on to the second batch, and that batch starts with the Tlhabeng municipality. It's on page 1 to 24. And Ms. Masike is going to lead the presentation to the committee. Ms. Masike, over to you.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Chairperson. The Tlhabeng is based in the Free State Province. They are applying for an average increase of 30%. NERSA has considered all the inefficiencies and we are recommending an approval of 11.43%. In terms of the assessment of the financial and operational performance, the municipality is not doing well. In the previous year, 23-24, they recorded a surplus of 10.79, but then for 24-25, they recorded a deficit of 16.17%. In terms of the energy losses, there is a marginal improvement there from 23.27% to 20.82%. But this is still above the regulatory threshold of 12%. We did the further analysis just to show if the municipality was limiting the energy losses to 12%, they would be the surplus position would change with those figures there, 53.83 million. And also if it was done using the 6%, the resultant surplus would change. In assessing the COS, NERSA has identified that the bulk purchases is a primary cost driver for this municipality. And the purchase costs were projected to increase from 294 million in 24-25 to 369 million 26-27. Despite this increase, the projected electricity sales remain substantially lower. The NERSA applied efficiency adjustments in terms of operational expenditure. The municipality requested operational expenditure of 329 million for 26-27. However, NERSA reduced the allowable operational expenditure by 184 million, resulting in the allowable operational expenditure of approximately 164 million. This adjustment related mainly to ESCOM debt interest, unsupported share costs, rental equipment. There is a line item there called ESCOM small accounts, which was not properly substantiated. The adjustment on ESCOM interest is equivalent to about 45 million, which was completely disallowed. And then in terms of the projected surplus, it is approximately 24 million for 26-27. The regulator has indicated that the surplus may be used as a financial buffer against operational risks, infrastructure maintenance requirements, as well as escalating bulk purchases from ESCOM. The municipality it remains exposed in terms of significant operational and financial risks, including high electricity losses. Following the assessment, NERSA did not approve the municipality's requested 30% increase. Instead, the regulator is recommending the increase to be 11.43%. considering the fact that all the inefficiencies have been removed. A breakdown of the shared costs that were disallowed is that Eskom debt interest was that 45 million that I talked about, and then that small account amount, Eskom small accounts, which was not justifiable, of 11 million. In terms of the recommendations, NERSA is the recommendations read as follows. The tariffs are based on, or that are based on the cost of supply report, are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis sheet section for implementation by 1st July 2026. The costs that are in the cost of supply report must be noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in the COS study to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification by 29 January 27. The municipality is required to submit audited financial reports that reflect. I thought this one was removed. Apologies, Chairperson. Can you please delete recommendation number 4? And then the municipality is required to submit energy losses reduction plan that the regulator can monitor. But this one was edited. I'll replace it with the recommended recommendation. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Masike. Members, any questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements that you may have on this particular application from the Tlhabeng? Please do come in. Yes, Mr. Mkhize.
Yes, when I look at the table, and thanks for the presentation, by the way. When I look at the table on page 12 of 172, the budgeted cost as per the licensee is exactly the same as the allowable revenue. So the 2026-27 financially allowable revenue. So in this instance, does it mean that there was a consultation with the municipality and then they duly adjusted accordingly to fall in line with the adjustment of the energy regulator before the final lodgement? Just want to get the clarity.
Can I go ahead, Chairperson?
Yes, please.
Yes, when we did the adjustment of the cost, we did consult with the municipality to ensure alignment. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Masike. Mr. Mkhize, are you covered?
Yeah, I'm covered.
Okay, all right. Maybe Ms. Masike, in your report, make sure that that enhancement is also reflected such that a reader who reads the RFDs, they can also be covered by the question or the point of enhancements raised by Mr. Mkhize. On that note, members, the recommendations have been read into the record. They are on pages 2 to 3. May I, with the enhancements made by members, get an indication that you support them? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. I do support. Thank you, Mr. Majola. We move on to the next application that is from Emalahleni MP Municipality. Ms. Kekana, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson. NERSA received an Emalahleni tariff application accompanied by a revised cost of supply study on 31st March 2026. The municipality attributed the revision of the cost of supply study to Eskom's implementation of approved retail and municipal bulk structural changes arising from approved Eskom's tariff retail and structural adjustment decision for the 2025-26 financial year. The municipality used the cost plus methodology when developing its cost of supply study. Aligned to the NERSA COS framework, costs were built up from verified bulk purchase from Eskom invoices and verified electricity-related operating costs adjusted with CPI-linked increases and verified against the DFOM's trial balance and audited AFS. The asset value is estimated at 1.2 billion, with a depreciation of 58 million, calculated on a straight line over a useful life of 3 to 8 years. This is in line with the cost of the COS framework, whereby it indicates that the depreciation is calculated on the asset and on a straight line basis over the useful economic life of an asset. Verified from audited AFS, the municipality's deficit worsened from 47.26% in the 2023 financial year to a deficit of 59.61% in 2024-25 financial year. 2024-25 financial year, the energy losses decreased from 45%. The energy losses decreased from 45.50% in the 2023-24 financial in the previous year to 29.79% in the current year, and are above the tolerable range of 12% indicated in the COS frameworks. Based on the information provided by the DFOMs, there has been an improvement on the technical performance indicators. The municipality has high energy losses of 29.79%. If the losses were kept at 12%, the municipality would improve the net loss by approximately 535 million and reduce the deficit from 59.61 to 25.7, deficit from 59.61 to 25.77%. If the losses were kept at 6%, the municipality would improve the net loss by approximately 418 million and reducing the deficit from 59.61 to 19.08. Based on the above information, the technical and financial performance of the electricity department with the municipality is not satisfactory. The licensee's electricity department does not demonstrate satisfactory financial and technical performance as reflected in the increased deficit and relatively high energy losses. The energy losses are not the primary driver of the deficit. The MUNIC paid 266 interest paid to Eskom with a collection rate of 52%, which is lower than the norms and standards of 95%. In terms of the technical performance assessment, the energy losses were caused by the illegal connections and theft and meter bypassing, aging and vandalized infrastructure, poor management, and municipal consumption. The required remedial actions were the municipality must implement metering improvement and meter all municipal consumption. The revenue requirement is found on page 21. To be fully cost reflective, the licensee's revenue requirement is 2.8 billion for the 2026-27 financial year. The revenue requirement table on table 4 will be enhanced in the final RFD, and all expenses in the revenue requirement have been examined to confirm that they pertain exclusively to the licensee's electricity function. Where any amounts were found to be inflated or insufficiently substantiated, adjustments have been affected accordingly. The bulk purchases amounted to 1.7 billion. To derive the 2026-27 financial year bulk purchase estimate, the cost of supply amount was escalated by 9.01%, consistent with the approved Eskom retail tariff structural adjustment ERSA. The methodology applied by Emalahleni in forecasting bulk purchase is deemed reasonable. Accordingly, the bulk purchase expenditure has been recommended and for approval as submitted. The operational expenditure, the licensee has applied for operational expenditure amounting to 662 million, with the removal of inefficiencies resulted in operating expenditure of 386 million, which constitutes 15% of the total cost. FBE payments to Eskom amounting to 10 million were identified as inefficiencies, as the Eskom debts of 266 million were disallowed as they were deemed inefficient costs with management control. It is recommended that the energy regulator approve total operational expenditure of 386 million for the 2026-27 financial, which excludes the cost of FBE paid to Eskom. As such, costs are funded through the equitable share and are not recoverable through tariffs and Eskom interest rate. The surplus for the surplus, the licensee applied for a surplus of 65 million. In recommending the surplus of 2%, NERSA relied on Section 15(1)(a) of the ERA, which provides that the tariffs must enable an efficient licensee to recover full costs of its licensed activities, including the reasonable margin or return. EPP policy position 1, Emalahleni's margin therefore sits below the lower band of the framework range of 10 to 20% as per COS framework. To ensure that the profit margin is commensurate with the risk considerations include high energy losses, low revenue collection, historically low tariffs, interest paid to Eskom of 266 million, and installing metering to improve collection rate. They must pay Eskom on time to avoid further payment of the interest in the account. All shared municipal costs were ring-fenced and strictly allocated to the electricity distribution function using the deform cost allocation methodology. Verification consistent with the COS frameworks. Verification against the trial balance and audited AFS confirmed that the electricity-related costs were included in the revenue requirement. The shared cost amounted to 23 million, with FBE paid to Eskom and general expenses of consumables, insurance, uniform, and transport and subsistence. With regards to public participation, NERSA complied with Section 10 of PAJA by publishing the application on its website. Municipality also conducted its own consultations. No correspondence was received from the municipality, and on the comments, no objections were received from stakeholders. Cost reflectivity for full cost reflective tariffs. Emalahleni has applied for 10% for full cost reflective tariff increase, or they should amount to 20.5%. In order to reach cost reflectivity, they must get to 20.5%, but they have applied uniformly 10% across the tariffs to phase in the increase to promote affordability and avoid tariff shock to the customers. The recommendations are read as follows. Tariffs that are based on the COS report are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation and by the municipality with effect from 1 July to 2026. The cost of supply report submitted by the municipality be noted. Then municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in the COS study to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification process on 31 January 2027. The municipality is required to submit quarterly progress report on efficiency improvement measures taken to reduce the high energy losses and deficit for the regulator to monitor implementation thereof by 30 September 2026. I submit, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kekana. Members, questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements on this particular application? If you have any, please do come in. Yes, Mr. Mkhize.
Thank you for the presentation, Kekan. I also appreciate how you have dealt with the issue of the surplus on page 44 of 172 in terms of outlining what the upside and downside of setting a surplus that could be unduly high, as well as that could be insufficient to then allow the municipality to fund asset maintenance, network expansion, and capital replacement programs, which could then ultimately compromise service reliability and infrastructure performance. I think in going forward, you also need to look at the track record of a municipality in terms of executing the programs as well as the successes thereof, that are aimed at addressing these issues and improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the municipality, such that when we're looking at the surplus, we're more scientific instead of being an objective instead of being subjective, so that we can be able to really zoom into where this surplus should sit at any particular time, noting the range that is recommended via the framework. So please, just in future, and I think that the way it is outlined here, it assists. And when it comes to the depreciation, please, we hear that it is a straight line, but we should also have the emphasis on the on it being for the electricity distribution business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize, for reiterating those points. Ms. Kekana, do you want to come in? But these were just points of enhancements from Mr. Mkhize.
Noted, Chairperson. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members, on that note, the recommendations have been read out. They are on page 24 to 26, with the enhancements made that are relevant to this particular application from others that we have dealt with, and those that have been made today. May I, by show of hand, get an indication that you do support the recommendations with the enhancements made? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize, Mr. Majola, also support. We move on to the next application, which is an application from Makado Municipality. And Dr. Modise, over to you. And I think it is a resubmission of an application that was considered on the 11th, and it's brought here as requested. Mr. Mkhize?
Chairperson, I just want to say that, seeing that we are now going to deal with the resubmissions, just to emphasize that zooming into the areas of enhancement, and not necessarily saying that the rest should be entirely ignored, but please, in the interest of being efficient with our time. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mkhize, for repeating that. I think we did give that guidance to the team to say that on the resubmissions, do present what you need to present, but be brief on the basis that these submissions have served before the committee, but emphasize what was said needed to be enhanced, and read the recommendations as well into the report. Mr. Modise, if he's not ready. Oh, okay. I was going to move to the next one. You may come in.
Okay, thanks, Chairperson. Makado Municipality is located in Limpopo Province, and the NERSA received the application of 12.41% on the 31st of March. This municipality didn't submit a revised cost of supply, but the escalating mechanism, which is in line with the framework, which validated the study for 5 years. And the costs were built up from bulk purchase, from ESCOM invoice, and the operating expenditure verified against the deformed trial balance and audited financial statement. When looking at their asset value, it's valued at around 1.1 billion, with the depreciation of 54 million, which is made up of high voltage, medium voltage, and low voltage, and they are depreciated over a lifespan of their lifespan. Moving on to the performance of the municipality, the surplus is improving from 3.5 to 9%, and the energy losses are also going up from 11 to 12. The reason why this movement is because the operational expenditure are reducing by 10% as a result of once-off payment, which was incurred in 2023-24, which outweighed the negative impact of the increasing energy losses. And based on that, Chairperson, we did the sensitivity test analysis. The sensitivity analysis, it's reflected on page 4. It's reflected on table 4, which is found on page 74 of the submission. If the energy losses were kept at 12%, the net profitability will improve to approximately 65 million, and the surplus of 10.45 was going to be achieved. However, if the losses were kept at a lower 6%, the profitability will be 85%, and the surplus of 13 was going to be achieved. So it is for that reason that we are saying that the performance of the municipality is satisfactory. However, close attention is required to address the losses that are going on the negative trajectory. Moving on to page 77 of the submission, which is the revenue requirement. The licensee is requiring a revenue requirement of 169 million, which is around 12.45%. However, in testing for efficiencies, there was a disallowance of 274,000, which was due to the high energy losses that are above 12%. And all the costs, Chairperson, in the revenue requirement were examined to confirm if they pertain exclusively to electricity department. Where the amount was found to be inflated, it was adjusted accordingly, which in this case, it was the energy losses. The bulk purchase applied for the municipality, the team focused to identify areas of inefficiencies. And the only one that was identified, it was a high energy losses, which as indicated already, it was disallowed. And to derive to the 26-27, the 25-26 bulk purchase was adjusted by 9%, which is aligned with the ERTA methodology. Moving on to the operating expenditure, Chairperson, the team, what they did, they have disaggregated the operating expenditure. And it shows that there is an amount of 157 million. And the team tried to identify any inefficiencies, and none was identified. So it is recommended to be approved. And moving on to the depreciation, the amount of the asset is valued at 1.1 billion, which is split into high voltage, medium voltage, low voltage. And these values were verified against the AFS deforms, and they are aligned with the framework in the sense that straight line methodology was applied. Moving on to the shared cost, Chairperson, the municipal costs were ring-fenced and strictly allocated to electricity division using the allocating methodology, consistent with the COS requirement. And moving on to the collection rate, Chairperson, the bad debt provision of 1.8% was made, which translates into a collection rate of roughly 98%. And the surplus of 63 million was applied for. In recommending the surplus, NERSA rely on section 15.1 of the ERA and also the electricity pricing policy position 1. The margin is sitting below the lower band of the range of 10.5%, and the risk that we identify was the energy losses that are moving into the negative trajectory, whereby the licensee will be encouraged to manage the loss so that the profitability of the municipality is not affected permanently. And with that surplus level, it will assist in future infrastructure and refurbishment. It will strengthen the cash flow and the capital requirements, and also support the long-term financial viability of the municipality undertaking the electricity. And in the looking at the cross subsidy, the commercial and the industrial customers will continue subsidizing the residential. It is for that reason that the municipality will be encouraged to develop a framework that is fair and transparent. Looking at the public participation, NERSA complied with the section 10 of the PAJA by publishing the application on the website. The municipality also conducted its own public consultation. No correspondence was received from the municipality, and there were no comments received from either NERSA nor the municipality. Moving on to the recommendation, they are found in page 63, which read as follows: that the tariff based on the cost of supply report are approved as recommended in the analysis sheet section for implementation by the municipality with effect from 1st July. The cost of supply report submitted by the municipality be noted. The municipality is required to submit the report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in its cost of supply to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification and auditing process. And lastly, Chairperson, the municipality must submit a quarterly smart, efficient plan with improvement measures to all the identified losses and submit the report by the 30th of September. I submit, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Modise. Members, any questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements that you may have on this particular resubmission?
Chairperson, Mr. Modise, I'll just appreciate the fact that Mr. Modise has taken on board all the enhancements that have been put forth. It's now just a matter of fine-tuning here and there in terms of getting the final RFD out. So that is appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you also were within your time allocation. Thanks for that. Any other points, members, that you may have on this application? Don't see any hand. On that note, the recommendations, they are on page 62 to 63. And they have been read into the record, and with the enhancements that needs to be made on this application as well, in line with comments or input made by members in previous application. May I get an indication that the members support the recommendations with the enhancements that needs to be made? By show of hand. Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. And Mr. Majola, I support. We move on to the next application. It's a resubmission as well. It is from Kondo Municipality and it will be presented by Ms. Kekana. Over to you, Ms. Kekana.
Thank you, Chairperson. NERSA received the Mkondo tariff application accompanied by an existing cost of supply study on 31st March 2026. And an adjustment index will be issued to licenses to allow them to, in terms of section 18.7 on October 2023, NERSA approved cost of supply framework states that an adjustment index will be issued to licensees to allow them to submit the tariff applications, which will be used to determine the cost that must decrease with CPI, purchase cost, and other OPEX, where annual plans such as repairs and maintenance and CapEx plans have been assessed and approved by NERSA. This can be adjusted based on that. Aligned to the NERSA COS framework, costs were built up from verified bulk purchases as ESCOM invoices and verified electricity related operation costs adjusted with CPI linked increases and verified against deforms, trial balance, and audited AFS. Only efficient and prudently incurred costs are recovered. The municipality applied for cost plus methodology in determining the revenue requirement. Under this methodology, the municipality applied a cost plus methodology in determining the revenue requirement. Under this methodology, the allowable revenue is derived from prudently and efficiently incurred costs together with an appropriate surplus margin determined by NERSA, and after considering the licensee's particular circumstances. The electricity asset base was reflected at 1.4 billion in the audited AFS, whilst depreciation of 539,396 was sourced from the trial balance. In NERSA's assessment, there is a direct relationship between the municipality's operating expenditure and the size and condition of the electricity asset base. A larger and aging network generally requires higher operating expenditure for routine operations, repairs, maintenance, network monitoring, and metering. The depreciation reflects the consumption of the service potential of those assets over time, and although non-cash in nature, forms part of the cost in providing the licensed activity. The depreciation was calculated using the straight line method over useful lives ranging from 20 to 45 years, consistent with the municipality's accounting policies for electricity distribution assets. NERSA verified the depreciation amount by reconciling it to the trial balance to the AFS. This is in line with the COS framework, whereby it indicates that the depreciation is calculated on the asset on a straight line basis over the useful economic life of an asset. The performance, in terms of the overall performance, the percentage deficit was declining in the previous year from 52.22% in 2023-24 to 34.89% in the 2024-25 financial. Although this reflects some improvement in cost recovery, the electricity business remains in a significant deficit position, which indicates that revenues are still insufficient to recover the full cost of supplying electricity. Energy losses declined from 51.04% in the 2023-24 financial year to 44.99% in the 2024-25 financial year. This reflects a measure of improvement. The level of losses remains materially above current utility norms and continues to place significant pressure on the municipality's financial sustainability. So with the losses, if the municipality has high energy losses of 44.99%, which is significantly undermines its financial sustainability. So if the losses were kept at 12%, the municipality would improve its net revenue by 13.8 million and an additional revenue of 90 million. If the losses were kept at 6%, the municipality would improve its net revenue by approximately 27 million and reducing the deficit from 34.89 to a surplus of 8.38%, resulting in an additional revenue of 90 million. Then, Chairperson, the general conclusion on the financial indicators, based on the above information, the licensee's electricity department does not demonstrate satisfactory financial and technical performance, as reflected in the significant deficit and persistently high energy losses. This position creates a material risk to the financial sustainability of the electricity business. That the energy losses were caused by illegal connections and theft, meter bypassing, aging and vandalized infrastructure, poor management of municipal consumption. The municipality must implement metering improvements, meter all municipal consumption, upgrade and replace aged infrastructure. The revenue requirement is found on page 86 of 172. So to be fully cost effective, the licensee's revenue requirement is 332 million. After adjustments of 10 million, the allowable revenue was 322 million, and it is recommended as reflected in table 4 below. The revenue requirement for a regulated licensee must be set at a level that covers the full cost of the license activity, including a reasonable risk-adjusted margin and return. All expenses included in the revenue have been examined to confirm that they pertain exclusively to the licensee's electricity function. Where any amounts were found to be inflated, adjustments have been affected accordingly. The bulk purchase expenditure amounted to 235 million. So to derive the bulk purchases figure, the bulk purchase estimate, the cost of supply amount was escalated by 9.01%, consistent with the approved ESCOM retail tariff structural adjustments. For operational expenditure, the licensee applied for a 56 million increase in the 26-27 financial year, representing 11% of the total cost included in the revenue requirement. Depreciation of 539,000 reflects the consumption of the service potential of those assets over time, although non-cash in nature forms part of the cost of providing the license activity. The operating expenditure comprises, among other, salaries, allowances of 17.1 million, materials and supplies of 3 million, contractor services of 10 million, salaries, wages, and allowances, excluding repairs and maintenance of 2.2 million. The interest on outstanding Eskom debt amounted to 21.4 million, which was disallowed as this expenditure is considered inefficient and is therefore non-recoverable from customers through tariffs. The licensee applied for a surplus of 40 million as part of the revenue requirement for 2026-27 financial year. NERSA assessed this amount in the context of Section 15 of the Electricity Regulation Act, the electricity pricing policy and cost of supply framework, which require that an efficient licensee to be allowed to recover prudent costs together with a reasonable margin commensurate with the risk of the licensed activity. The municipality initially applied for a surplus of 40 million after the exclusion of after the exclusion of identified inefficiencies, the surplus reduced to 25 million, representing, this needs a correction, Chairperson, it's not 6%, it's 8% of the total cost of the 26-27 financial year, as shown in table as in the table below. To verify the surplus is not that the surplus is not excessive or detrimental to customers, NERSA considered the municipality's actual operating circumstances, including high energy losses, collection risk, aging infrastructure, then the need to maintain customer affordability. The applied margin reflects conservative allowance intended to support the financial viability of the electricity function without imposing an undue burden on customers. Accordingly, the applied surplus is considered commensurate with the level of risk associated with the municipality's electricity distribution business. The municipality is expected to use this support and upgrade and replace aging infrastructure and reconfigure the network to reduce technical losses, replace conventional meters with smart meters, and progressively align tariffs with the cost of supply. The municipality's collection rate is 64% and will need to improve to 95% to meet the industry norms and standards. The installation of smart meters is expected to enhance revenue collection, while tariffs aligned to the COS will promote more appropriate pricing signals. It is therefore recommended that the energy regulator approve the allowable revenue of 302 million as set out in table 4. In terms of shared costs, all shared costs were ring-fenced and strictly allocated to the electricity distribution function using the D-form cost allocation methodology, consistent with the COS requirements. Verification against the trial balance and audited AFS confirmed that the only electricity-related costs were included in the revenue requirement. Shared costs were allocated to general expenses of 2 million and were assessed to ensure that only electricity-regulated costs were attributed to the licensed activity. The shared costs were wet fuel, higher charges, protective clothing, skills development levy, and travel and subsistence. In terms of cross-subsidization, the commercial and industrial customers subsidize the residential users. The municipality will be requested to develop a cross-subsidy framework that is fair and transparent. In terms of public participation, NERSA complied with the Section 10 of PAJA by publishing the application on its website. A total of 575 comments were received. Stakeholders, among others, stakeholders stated, among other things, that they were unaware of the municipality's 15% increase and that the municipality's own consultation process, that during the municipality's own consultation process, a lower increase was communicated. On that basis, objectors contended that the tariff proposal had not been adequately consulted upon and should be subjected to closer scrutiny in the tariff analysis. The municipality also conducted its own public consultation process. However, no formal submission was received from the municipality, setting out the comments received and its response thereto. The objectors and intervening parties. NERSA received objections from stakeholders, including the Asagai Independent Movement of South Africa, AIMSA, and mkondorates.co.za. So from the stakeholder comments, from the stakeholder comments, the customers indicated that the MFA and Section 21A of the Municipal System Act requires reasonable and meaningful public participation. There was none for the tariff submitted to NERSA. Furthermore, NERSA cannot rely on a consultation conducted on 9.01% to approve an application for 15%. NERSA replied by NERSA noted that in the NERSA analysis, NERSA noted that the concern regarding the adequacy of the consultation process and took it into account in assessing the tariff application, including the reasonableness of the proposed increase and the need to avoid undue prejudice to customers. So only 2 notices existed. Only one was shown to the public. The public commented on 9.01%. No ratepayer in Mkondo was ever invited to comment on 15%. The Section 22 of the MFMA and Section 21A of the Municipal Systems Financial Act require reasonable and meaningful public participation. There was none for the tariff actually submitted. NERSA cannot rely on a consultation conducted by 9.01% to approve an application of 15%. In the NERSA analysis, NERSA considered the objection and assessed the tariff proposal with due regard to consultation concerns raised and the underlying COS information and the need to arrive at a tariff outcome that is reasonable and evidence-based and procedurally defensible.
You need to conclude now, Ms. Kekana.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. So the licensee initially applied for 15%, but the licensee, after negotiations with the municipality, the licensee revised their application to an overall weighted average tariff increase of 11% for 2026-27 financial year. The proposed overall electricity tariff increase was assessed against the Eskom bulk purchase cost of, I need to correct, the proposed weighted increase of 11% was assessed against the Eskom bulk purchase cost of 9%, which is the primary cost driver. On this basis, the applied increase was above the bulk cost adjustment and required assessment against the municipality's broader cost structure. The NERSA considered whether the proposed increase would enable the municipality to recover bulk electricity costs, reduce pressure on the electricity business, support essential maintenance and refurbishment of infrastructure, and mitigate undue tariff pressure on commercial and industrial customers. Based on the submission, on the information submitted and the analysis conducted, the RC, in terms of recommendations, based on the information submitted and the analysis conducted, the REC decided at its meeting on May 2026 that the tariffs that are based on the COS report are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section of the implementation and for the implementation by the municipality with effect from 1 July 2026. The cost of supply submitted by the municipality be noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in its cost of supply study to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification process by 31 January 2027. The municipality is required to submit quarterly progress report on efficiency improvement measures taken to reduce higher losses and deficit for the regulator to monitor implementation thereof by 30 September 2026. I submit, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Kekana. Members, any questions, issues of clarity, or points of enhancements on this application? Thank you, Mr. Mkize. You may come in, sir.
Thanks, Chairperson, and thanks, Madam Kekana. I must say, this I was trying to, weigh, the balance between off-record engagement versus on-record. But I must say, Madam Kekana, please work on not letting your presentation betray the good work you've put in crafting this document and all the analysis, the good hard work you have put in it, to be related to be undermined by the presentation side. You don't have to read every figure. Just go through it systematically. You put in a good effort, and just that area, and then with that, there's still more work to be done, and putting more effort in that space will actually show forth your capabilities. Yeah, just want to stress that element. Appreciate you attending to the challenges that have been cited. For me, Chairperson, I thought maybe would get even maybe less assisting in terms of commenting on the issue of the 9% consultation, 9.01% increase consultation vis-a-vis the application for 15%, which comes to the issue that I raised earlier on to say, going forward, we should ensure that it is clear that in as much as we say that the cost of supply study is a prerequisite for consideration of an application, meaningful consultations should also be prerequisites, to the extent that there must be consultation, and in terms of what the municipalities are taking forth as an application to the regulator, there must be some kind of feedback loop. Because in this instance, if they consulted on a 15% and then they applied for a 9%, maybe we would be looking at it differently. But I'm saying we should be able to be even-handed in looking at that. So the thing is, going forward, no public consultation by municipality, no consideration of an application. And at the same time, we have done our own consultation, and the figures that we have put forth, lending on 11%, should look reasonable, and therefore the way to go with. But I would still request maybe if the legal people can kind of weigh in on this one, rather than to rely on a strict lawyer's viewpoint, who is Muslim Mkize. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Mr. Mkize, yes, I just also wanted to emphasize the issue of public consultation, because if you look at the report, it says that the municipality consulted on a lower percentage increase, whereas on the other hand, they submit to NESA the 15%, and hence the objections from the many members of the public on the 15%. So maybe that point, as you have said, that it must be made a must that they do indicate to us that they've gone through their public participation, not only go through it, that they must also indicate in their reports as to how they've dealt with the comments that have been received from the members of the public. On that note, members, I think that was a point of enhancements and
I would appreciate, Chairperson, sorry, if the legal people are here, just to weigh in on that, and the regulator council is here just to assist.
Okay, thank you. You may come in, and Tate Chokwe Murati, if you're here, to give your inputs. Thank you.
Chairperson, good afternoon. Let me start first. If Mr. Murati is not around, I thought he would come first. Chairperson, when it comes to, I think the CEO has been indicating that whilst it may not be our province for what the municipality does in terms of their public consultation, we can't just ignore it. But actually, the ratepayers or who are belonging to municipalities, they also have a right to take municipality actually to court, maybe for lack of a better word. But from where we are sitting, we can only encourage that municipality should run their process fully. But our hands are tied in terms of we have our own process and we get gate in terms of the type of work that we do. But we because all the stakeholders and municipalities being our licensee, we can only encourage them to run their process fully because they are accounting in terms of the municipal legislation. But I think Murati here can articulate it much better than me. Thanks.
Thank you, Tate Chokwe Murati. Tate Murati, I don't see anyone from legal. But I think, Mr. Mkize, we will note that as one of the points of enhancements that needs to be really covered in future processes of tariff applications. So on that note, then members, may I, by show of hand, get an indication that you support the recommendations that have been read into the record on pages 85 to 86? With the enhancements that have been made in relation to this particular application. Members, by show of hand. Thank you, Mr. Majola, Mr. Mkize, and I also support. We move on to another resubmission, which is from Nkandla Municipality. Ngate Ramohulu, over to you, sir.
Good evening, Chair and members. Ganja, it was one of the resubmission, and the key issue was to deal with the inefficiency in terms of losses and deficit, and then they applied the tariff based on the revised cost of supply study. And also they are utilizing the cost plus approach. And what we did was to do an analysis of the costs where all the inefficiencies were disallowed from the application, and also that's what we made sure that all those inefficiencies were disallowed, and then after that we recommended that I mean, in terms of the cross subsidization, we realized that the cross subsidization exists, but we also indicating that the municipality needs to deal with that, and also the assistance of NESA. And then the results of the study was like maybe before the result of the study, the municipality and NESA conducted public participation, and there was no comment from the NESA side, and we didn't also hear from the municipality if there was any concern raised. And then after that, after the removal of the inefficiency, the results indicate that 38.60 is required for the municipality to achieve full cost reflectivity. And then the municipality wanted applied for an increase of 12.90, but due to the issue of the high inefficiencies, ESCOM debt, NMD penalty, FB payment to ESCOM, we recommended that the energy regulator approved 10.50 instead of 12.90 because this municipality has got a high level of inefficiency at all levels. And then I'm going to the recommendation to say that the tariff being approved based on cost of supply. Recommended as the tariff analysis section for the implementation from 1 July, and the cost of supply report submitted by the municipality be noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all costs that have been noted in the COS and to enable the energy regulator to perform independent verification or audit process by 31 January. And also the municipality to submit quarterly progress reports on the efficiency improvement measures taken to reduce high energy losses and deficits to enable NESA to monitor the implementation thereof by 30 September 2026. I submit, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Tate Ramohulu. Members, on that note, do you have any inputs to make on this particular application? I'm just trying to also make a follow-up on the issues that were to be addressed, but I believe they have been addressed in Tate Ramohulu. If you can confirm the issue that was raised in relation to Nkandla, I think it was the 12% issue, and I think you have covered it. And I do not see any hand from the members on that note, and I take it that they are fairly covered by your presentation and inclusion of the issue that was raised at the last meeting of the 11th of May. Members, anything else? I do not see any hand. Members, the recommendations have been read into the record. They are on pages 115 to 16. And with the enhancements raised at the workshop and as well as in other applications that is relevant to this particular application will be included in the RFPs once they are being enhanced. On that note, may I by show of hand get an indication that you support the recommendations with the enhancement? Thank you, Mr. Majola. I do support. Thank you, Mr. Mkize. We move on to Umkanyagude. It is yours again, Mr. Ramohulu. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Umkanyagude, it's one of municipality based in KZN, and also they wanted to apply for 12.90 based on the revised cost of supply. And then when you check about financial and technical performance, the municipality is also highly inefficient, and also in terms of operating at a deficit and also high energy losses. And then what we did was we went to verify the cost operational expenditure. We found out that the municipality were inefficient, and then we disallow non-maximum demand, accident penalties, which are mandated for 87.426, and also we dealt with those was some of the costs that were disallowed, and also Eskom debt interest, and we make sure that the revised CO is based on the information, on the prudent information cost, and then that's what we did in terms of allowing such kind of costs, and then also the municipality is also having cross subsidization, which will also encourage them to deal with the issue of the cost, and also because this kind of municipality that we need it to operate efficiently, and then after doing that, we realized that based on the results of the study, we realized that the municipality needs to revise their. We are recommending for the adjustment of the tariff application of 12.90 to 9.50, which the municipality will be able to cover the bulk purchase from Eskom while they are putting the house into order, so that the municipality can be able to operate efficiently, because the customers cannot pay more higher costs while the municipality is not improving the deficit and also the higher energy losses. And those were the issues that we needed to address from the team. I think I'll come to the recommendation, which says that based on the available information and the analysis performed thus far, the regulator executive committee decided at its meeting on 27 May that the tariff are based on the COS report are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality, which effect from 1 July 2026. The cost of supply submitted by the municipality be noted. Municipality is required to submit report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in its COS to enable regulator to perform its independent verification or audit process by 31 January 2026. The municipality must submit a quarterly report on the efficiency improvement measures to reduce high energy losses and deficits to enable NERSA to monitor the implementation thereof commencing from 3 September 2026. I submit, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Tate Ramoholu. Members, any comments, inputs on this particular application? I think for me, the issue of the high energy losses and deficit of a concern, they are extremely, extremely high. We really do need to ensure that we are being monitored, and as well as that there is improvement in that area on the municipal side. And I think this will really improve the municipality's financial position. On that note, members, anything else from your side other than really to highlight that those two elements in the application, which are very, very concerning, too high. Mr. Mkiza, I see your hand.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I share the same sentiment, and I think that it's also important for these municipalities to forge a strategic partnership with other authorities, in particular the law enforcement agencies, because really any country's development is very much dependent on the upholding the rule of law, and for that, if there are losses because of theft and all that, then it becomes a matter of criminality and something that the municipality should work with the law enforcement agencies. You cannot really work on elimination of these losses simply by putting meters and all of that. It needs that. So if that can come out clear. And second, it also talks to the issue I'd raised earlier on when one considers a surplus, because if there's poor performance by a municipality resulting from these energy losses, and there's a decision not to give them a surplus, which they need to implement those projects, then it becomes a challenge. It's a question of the rigor they put into project planning and management for them to be able to execute those projects in such a manner that they then are addressing the problem. So it's something that I think the teams with when they look at this whole issue of surplus, they need to tread carefully and look at the feasibility of those initiatives or projects to address the losses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkiza. I don't see any other hand. Dr. Ramhulu, I think those are points to be considered or also shared with the municipality to say that we deem them to be very, very concerning and they must just do something about them. Do you want to come in, or should I then take members to the recommendations of this particular application?
Madam Chair, noted, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, on that note, the recommendations have been read into the record. They are on pages 115. Can you just, no, I'm on the previous one. I'm on Gandla. They have been read into the record. May I, by show of hand, get an indication that you do support them? I'll just highlight the pages. Right now, I am getting the recommendations are on page 145, 145, 246. May I, by show of hand, get an indication that you support them with the enhancements that members have made in relation to the application? Thank you, Mr. Majolo, Mr. Mkize. Also support. We then move on to the third batch, which has got just one application, which is Abakulusi. It's yours again, Dr. Ramhulu, and it is on pages 1 to 28. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The municipality initially requested for 9.9% in order to balance the affordability of the tariff. But however, according to our assessment, the percentage increase was 1.944%, which was later adjusted upward to 4.16% to allow for the recovery of bulk purchase increases. And this is a submission. We were requested to indicate what will be the effect of the kind of reducing tariff in order to account for or support the affordability of the tariff. And then what we did, we went through the proposed tariff increase, and we also adjusted so that the municipality revenue is not negatively affected, and we like to recommend for 4.16 so that the municipality can be able to service ESCOM debt, and the municipality applied, just like other municipalities applied for tariff based on the revised series model, and also using cost plus model, and those were the issues. And also we scrutinized the operational expenditure so that we make sure that all the costs associated with the provision of the electricity are accounted for. And also, just like other municipalities, the municipality is also doing, have got cross subsidization, which will also encourage the municipality to have a policy so that they should be able to implement that. And then after that, the results of COS is like 30.8%. However, the municipality, we are recommending that the municipality, the energy regulator approve 4.16 among the various tariff. It won't be there across the board, so that we balance the affordability on the customers. Also to be able to maintain ESCOM demand, electricity demand, and then I therefore go to the conclusion or recommendation. Based on the available information and analysis performed thus far, the Regulatory Executive Committee decided at its meeting on 27 May that tariff based on CO's report and approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effect from 1 July. The cost supply report submitted by the municipality being noted. The municipality required to report accounting for all costs that have been noted in its COS study to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification or audit process by 31 January 2027. The municipality must submit quarterly progress reports on the efficiency improvement measures taken to reduce high energy losses and deficits to enable the NESA to monitor the implementation thereof. I submit, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And that the Ramahulu members, as indicated, this is a resubmission, and I believe the issues raised were rather are addressed, unless if there's something that you believe you want to come in terms of the application. If you have, please do come in. I do not see any hand from the members. On that note, members, the recommendations are on pages, as I said, pages 1 to 3, to 2 rather, of page 3. By show of hand, members, please. I think this is also subject to all other enhancements made in other applications. Thank you, Mr. Mkize, Mr. Majola. I do support. Those were the 14 applications that were outstanding. Abatulisi was the last one. However, there is the last one that I would like Mr. Matebula to briefly indicate to the members whether it is on the list and how, and we can decide on the proposal on how we should proceed with it. Mr. Matebula, Sentlek.
Yeah, Chair, good evening. Sentlek Chair was presented during the RSC of the 6th, if I'm not mistaken, and it was considered and approved. And as we were preparing the communique to the municipality, we realized, Chair, that on the table that indicates the different categories of the tariff structures, we realized that on one of the categories, we did not reflect the basic charge. So we could therefore not communicate to the municipality because what needs to be communicated should be what has been brought to the REC. We wanted that whatever is communicated, it must align to what was brought to the committee in terms of paper trail. So we consulted with legal, and legal advised that we should consider using today's session to allow the REC members to ratify this correction. So, Chair, it's on page 20 of the attached document. You will see on table 5, there is a schedule of tariff, which I think there are about 16 schedules. So it is on schedule 2, where there was supposed to be a row that talks to basic charge, which is currently, it was not reflected on the submission that was made on the 6th. So we wanted to request that the REC members ratify the addition of that row on the table to ensure that whatever we communicate to the municipality, it's a reflection of what was brought to the committee. Chair, I must indicate that it does not have any effect on the tariff that was approved by the REC, but we just wanted to ensure that the tariff schedule is correct. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. I think your last point was going to be my question as to whether it does change the decision made by the regulator, by the REC or not. Members, there is the application from St. Clerk. I think it's the EM has explained what has happened in terms of this application. It has been approved on the 6th of May. However, they realized that the basic charge a row was not reflected in the application that came before us on the 6th of May. Any issues that you have in relation to the request for ratification on the addition of the actual amount of the basic charge in the table? Mr. Mkhize?
I'll just thanks. I just like to clarify. Was the basic charge always there, or the basic charge is a new introduction? Because it seems like this is now being introduced, and then the reasonability of that. It is now just, if you can just quickly talk to the merits of that basic charge itself. Thank you.
Okay, just on that note, maybe from my side, also just to say, to confirm or rather respond on whether when we went out for public consultation, the amount that was omitted was there in the version that was out for consultation as well. That will be important for me to understand that. Over to you, Ndate Matebula, or whoever is going to be assisting you on this application.
Not a problem, Chair. I will ask Mr. Alufe to respond to the 2 questions that were asked.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good evening to everyone in the meeting. Indeed, there was an omission of a basic charge. So let me start with your question, CEO, then I come to Mr. Mkhize's question. The basic charge, yes, it was applied for by the municipality, which is St. Clerk, operating on behalf of Mangaung. So it came with the application, Chairperson, and with the application which was consulted on by NERSA. It is also there on the website with other publications. Now, coming to Mr. Mkhize's questions, you requested the merits of this basic charge. What happened is Centlec submitted a COS, which was reflecting that they have to introduce a basic charge of 557 to the domestic IBT prepaid and also conventional, and they were supposed to introduce last year. Now, Centlec decided that no, not this year, no, not last year, because it will be somehow a batch, or rather a quick move towards the customer, or rather introduction of such basic charge to customers. Then they introduced it this year with the application for this year. And then they did not introduce that 557. They said they're gonna start base by a minimum amount of 50 rands per month on basic on that basic charge. So introduction of that, or rather the introduction of this basic charge, it's meant to alleviate reliance and to lower the subsidy which this customer category, the IBT domestic customer category, that it's getting from other customer categories. So that was the main aim. Now, and this customer category in the municipality, it's having 153,441 customers. So a basic charge of 50 rand to all these customers within this customer category alone, it amounts to 7.7 million a month. Now, in 12 months, it amounts to 90.1 million. So the impact of this, it's 5%, 5% less reliance, or rather 5% less of a subsidy from other customers. So basically the introduction of this basic charge of 50 rands, it reduces the reliance on other customers by 50%, by 5%. Now, before the introduction, it was at 46%. Now, when this basic charge is introduced, it means the municipality is going to, the under recovery under this customer category, it's going to be low down to 41%. That is 46 minus 5, which is the impact. So that is where we are, Chairperson, and this 5% impact will also alleviate slightly a load on other customers who were subsidizing this customer category. So the municipality decided to introduce it this year, hence the COS had allowed them to introduce it last year, but hence they didn't want to impose it to customers by then. Let me pose the Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I allow Mr. Mkhize to indicate whether he's covered, I think there's a page, there's a paragraphs on page 13, because it's not green stamped. 4.6, 4.7, and 4.8 on page 13. I think they are blank. There's something missing there. If you can confirm if there is something that is missing, or it's just an error that needs to be corrected in the final document. Mr. Ralufe, I'll take Mr. Majola in the meantime. Mr. Majola, may I come in?
Thank you, Chair. From my side, I'm still a bit lost, because obviously we hearing this now, no paperwork prior to this meeting. But I still really want to understand, because in terms of the court judgments, we had to make a decision by, I think, the 11th of May, and the decisions were made. Now we're getting another request here, and I think I heard Mr. Matebula saying that this request that is in front of us right now has no impact on the decisions that were made prior to the 11th of May. If maybe they can just explain that, because as I say, I'm still a bit lost.
Okay, thank you. If you can take all those points raised by members, Mr. Matebula and Tate Rolufe, to assist members to consider what you are recommending. I don't know who's going to start. Maybe just start first with Mr. Majolo so that as we continue with the other questions, maybe he will be enlightened in terms of what is happening with this particular resubmission of a SENTLEC application, or rather this request for ratification. Mr. Matebula, over to you.
Yeah, Chair. So what we are saying, Mr. Majola, is that we maybe, I don't know, the legal team can also assist, but what we are saying is that we made a presentation to the REC where we indicated that we have processed the application for SENTLEC, and we are proposing an approval of a tariff of 9.9%. And however, the submission had a table at the bottom on page 20, and this table indicates tariff categories, or let me say schedule of tariff. So the schedule of tariff, it's indicating for each category what was approved in the previous year and what is proposed in the current year, which is what we were bringing to the regulator. So the schedules there are 16 in total. It's Schedule 1 to 16, Schedule 1 representing the indigents. Schedule 2, as Mr. Raulfe indicated, is indicating it's reflecting on domestic customers. So if you look at the different rows, you will see that it talks about energy charge, peak, standard, off-peak, and so forth. So what we are saying is that when the municipality applied on their schedule of tariff, on the Schedule 2, there was a basic charge of 50 Rand that was there. However, when we now concluded our RFD, we omitted that basic that line that talks to the basic charge of 50 Rand. And when we now have to communicate to the municipality what the regulator has approved, on the letters we have to indicate these schedules because the municipality must implement on the different customer category based on the schedule that is approved by the regulator. So because the applicant came with a 50 Rand on Schedule 2, it was not included in the document that was presented before REC. Though the REC had considered the 9.9% increase, we felt that it is necessary that this be ratified to ensure that what the members have agreed to is communicated to the municipality as is. Because at this point in time, we're gonna have to communicate only what was seen by the members. So hence we are bringing this back to the REC members to ratify the inclusion of that row of 50 Rand. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I trust Mr. Majola is covered, and let's proceed to the points raised by Mr. Mkize and myself. Colleagues, over to you, Tate Rolufe. Briefly.
Chairperson, I thought I've addressed those issues. Firstly, you asked about the consultation on this basic charge. Yes, I responded that they were consulting because it came on the sorry, I'm referring to it as in plural and it's only one basic charge.
Sorry to interject. There was a follow-up question from Mr. Mkize And I also raised points on paragraph 4.6, 4.7, 4.8. The issue of publication, yes, indeed, you have covered it. And he also wanted you to explain this basic charge as to how it came about. And I think you did explain that. I will just go back to him to see if he's covered. But there were those two questions and the other points, or rather from my side, the correction of the numbers. And I asked whether, is it an error that needs to be corrected on that page, or is there some information missing? Because when you read them, it seems as if there's something that is missing. So if you can confirm how we are supposed to read on page 13, those 4.6 to 4.8. Thank you.
4.6 to
Yeah,
4.8.
Chair, I think that document that you are looking at, Chair, it's the document that was so there's not supposed to be anything there. It's just a correction on the numbering, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. It is on the first attachment that there, if you're lost. Noted. Mr. Mkize, are you covered on your last point that you made, or rather on your questions that you've raised in total?
Yeah, I'm covered, but I must raise that these issues of basic charges, we need to scrutinize them really as to what the implications are, as well as the fact that we also have got these surcharges by municipalities, which when we busy discussing here, they then what the ratepayers see on their bills is not the same as what we're busy dealing with here, simply because of those surcharges. So I'm saying that that kind of communication also need to be loud and clear, because vigilance must be exercised elsewhere in dealing with the surcharges. I can only leave it at that. And my understanding is that other than this basic charge, the percentage increase that is that was approved remains the same. That is my understanding. So I do support the ratification, but with that provides that we should be really more hawkish around such basic charges going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkize. That is noted. Mr. Majolo, I trust you are covered with the explanation of what are we doing with the application, the Centlic application. It was approved for the 9% increase on the 6th of May. However, I think what the team is saying is that there was an omission in putting the amount for the basic charge in the table, in the relevant table, and therefore then they're coming here to request that we rectify that particular omission such that they include it in the communication that needs to go to the licensing. Are you covered on that? So on that note, members, may I, by show of hands, that get an indication that you support the ratification with the that point made by Mr. Mkize that on these additional charges, we really need to scrutinize them and be able to, or rather interrogate them and be able to indicate how relevant they are to the application and their impact onto the customers. Thank you, Mr. Mkize. Mr. Madola, I do support the ratification. On that note, members, we have come to the end of all the outstanding application, and the last one, which was for ratification. We have come to the end of our open session. May I request, or rather thank everyone, the members of NESA management and support staff, and all the presenters and those that have been following us on this throughout this particular meeting that we have had today. May I then request IT to just assist